Welcome to the Money Healing Club podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Duncan. I'm a certified financial therapist and art therapist, and you've come to the softest place to land when it comes to personal finance. Just a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only and does not replace mental health care or financial advice. Please seek a licensed professional for your needs and be careful who you get advice from. I'm going to say a word, and I want you to pay attention to how your body reacts. Wealth. Like if you strip away all the Pinterest visuals, the money influencer noise, hustle culture, inherited narratives from your family, what does wealth mean to you? I mean, there are so many associations. It's very complex. Today's episode is a rebroadcast of a podcast where I was the guest. It's called It's All Poetry with Nicole Cloutier. So you're going to get to know a little bit more about me personally on the other side of the mic, and you'll hear about my relationship with the word wealth. I've come to know Nicole well because I've hired Nicole. She's a copywriter, and she helped me wordsmith my website, and I've taken many of her writing trainings. Nicole's taught me how to sound like me and have a business. You can check out her work, which I highly recommend, at copypoetics.com. In our episode, we dive into the word wealth, its etymology, its changing definitions throughout the ages. It's truly fascinating, and I think it's a really important word to talk about. I think you're going to love it. So let's talk about what we don't usually say when we talk about wealth with Nicole Cloutier.
Welcome to another episode of It's All Poetry. Today, I have someone that I am super excited to be chatting with, especially about the topic we're about to get into. It is Rachel Duncan. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Nicole. Happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. For those of you that don't know Rachel, she is a certified financial therapist, an art therapist, and the founder of Money Healing Club, which is a shame-free space for people who want to feel calmer and more confident with money. Rachel, anything you want people to know about you up front besides that?
I also have a podcast called the Money Healing Club Podcast. So I love recording and getting all up in this mic.
Yeah. And as y'all may have guessed, we're going to talk about money a bit today, but the word we're focusing on is wealth, which, is tied up with money and also not tied up with money. And so excited to dive into it with everybody. But Rachel, I would love to start by asking what your personal connection is with the word wealth. And more specifically, let's start with what is your earliest memory of the word wealth or the concept of wealth?
I'm glad we're talking about it because I think it's the concept I've had the biggest transformation with in relating to in my life, especially now that I am a financial professional, which I don't think I ever thought I would have been way back when, although there is a golden thread if I were to look back throughout my life. My parents were an interesting mix in terms of class and profession because my parents were older when I was born. And so my dad was more of like the silent generation who was born in 1922 in Oklahoma. So grew up during the Dust Bowl and the Depression. He was a seaplane pilot in World War II, like true farm boy, but also the first one in his family to go to college. He got his PhD in education. He was very passionate about education. That's how my parents met. So while I think he did substantially, kind of did the education route, which was really different for his family. That's what brought him to Colorado, was to teach at a university here. He was a real cycle breaker, but he was kind of still the working man. Like he was still so much of like the farm boy. Like we grew up with goats and chickens and he always had a big garden, and in his retirement, he made things out of wood. And, he just sort of never left that like farm boy roots, even though he had, went to higher education. And then my mom came from England. She was from England, actually. And her father fought in World War II. She was really impacted by World War II herself as a child. And, and they met here in the education sphere and very much kind of the proletariat. We spent many weekends at soup kitchens for homeless teens, making food for them. I mean, they were just very much of that kind of liberal place of really helping the common person. So I think I definitely grew up with like, we get by, but being wealthy is bad. And I don't know if they ever said that, but like, that's definitely the implicit thing of like, oh, if someone has wealth, that means they're greedy. They're not doing their part to help others. So I think the word wealth definitely had a really negative connotation.
Mm.
It's some of the dichotomy is because they so believed in education, they somehow made it work for me to go to private school. So then I'm in private school, financial aid kid, with very wealthy families, and doing
Yeah.
play dates at these wealthy houses. And so in this funny way, I also got exposed to it. And there was also this message of like, oh, be nice to them because they're wealthy. So I think there's a lot of like heaviness and double messaging, and
Mhm.
my mother, I can say this, she has passed on, you know, be very grateful. Like her wealthy friends really helped her out. Like before she
Mm.
met my dad, she was a teacher also at a private school, and there were a lot of wealthy families. And when she went through a horrible divorce in the 60s, she got to stay with some of these families who were very generous and were wealthy.
Mhm.
So, she was always very grateful for that. And they maintained friends, but it was also like, oh, but we're not of them, but we need to be friends with them. So I think there's a lot of heaviness and a lot of mixed messages of like, we can be friends with wealthy people, but you should not strive to be wealthy. That's bad. Like, is that
Yeah.
mixed up with greed? Oh, well, if you're holding on to money, that means you're not helping people. So I think that's a lot of what I came into my adulthood with.
Do you see that a lot with people you work with too? The idea that wealth is potentially bad?
Yes, I think we do unpack that. It's like, okay, well, I would like to have more money. Like, I know I need more money, but like, I also don't know quite what to do with it.
Mhm.
There's that. Like, am I going to get in trouble if I don't know what to do with it? Or my family never had it, so I don't know what to do with it. Also, it burns a hole in my pocket if it's sitting there in the account. That comes up a lot. And I think this perception also of wealth meaning buying more things or spending
Mm.
more money. So I think it's a thing that's very interesting about how we perceive money is often how we spend, but there's a lot more to money than that. I also have kind of a subset of clients who are this quiet minority of folks who have inherited wealth and
Mm.
feel like they can't talk. And, I've worked with some of these folks who, say like, I don't think a group program is right for me because I know that I have like literal unearned privilege, but I have nowhere to talk about this. Like it's still emotional. Like money is emotional no matter how much money you have.
Mm.
So that's been an interesting aspect of my work is working with folks with inherited wealth and just what that means for them.
Yeah. I think one question that is popping up for me now that I think we should address early is the difference between money and wealth.
Mm.
What is that to you?
I'd love to get into the definitions and stuff as well.
Yeah.
I mean, wealth relates more to net worth, which
Mhm.
is the value of your assets, and you subtract the liabilities and what's left over. Now, it's not like there's a dollar amount that means wealthy or not wealthy, but it means that difference between the value of what you own versus your debts. Is that substantial enough to last? When I think of the word wealth, the perception of lastingness, whether it's intergenerational wealth or something that is substantial and runs on its own, it's often tied with assets, not necessarily cash. Like someone
Mm.
can be wealthy with their land, for example.
Mm.
We hear sometimes. So I think you can be wealthy in different aspects of different kinds of assets you can have. But I think the perception is there's a kind of a lastingness when it comes to wealth. And it really kind of relates more to net worth.
Yeah. That rings true for me. That word lasting
Yeah.
feels like exactly right. It's like money is the thing that can build this lasting wealth. Okay.
Mhm.
Are you ready to look at the definitions?
Let's do it.
So the way we'll do this is we'll go backwards in time. So we'll start by looking at the modern definitions from Merriam-Webster. Then we'll look at the 1828 Webster Dictionary, and then we'll look at the deep, deep etymology. Wealth 2025 definition. We have three of them. One is an abundance of valuable material possessions or resources, which is interesting considering what you just said too.
Mhm.
Number two is an abundant supply or profusion. Number three is all property that has a money value or an exchangeable value. The second part of that third definition is all material objects that have economic utility, especially the stock of useful goods having economic value in existence at any one time. Example, national wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And value and abundance coming up.
I was going to ask, what stood out for you? Do these feel true? Like, do they feel like true with the way you would describe wealth?
Yeah, it also makes me realize, wow, we've put on so many more layers of perception about this word. Like,
Yeah.
I do think that these definitions, yeah, that seems right. It makes me think of, oh, I would say, oh, wealthy people are, or they must be wealthy, or they must be rich, which is a different word
Mm.
to explore. Like, oh, we put on a lot of layers about what wealth needs to look like.
Yeah.
That is absent from that definition.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we were talking before we started recording about rich versus wealth. Do you want to talk about that a bit
Mhm.
now?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think this is interesting. I just think we have different associations and actually did a little of my own research. And, rich has a much broader application, right? You can eat a rich brownie, right? It's
Mm.
often about like density of sensory experience, right? A rich color, rich food, rich perfume. So I kind of love like there's this whole sensory aspect. I think when it comes to money, I feel like the word rich very much has a perception. Like they
Yeah.
look rich, and it often has to do more with spending and lifestyle, where wealth doesn't necessarily, I mean, it's in there, but I do think rich versus wealthy. It just makes me think of like 11th grade English and Great Gatsby. And
Yeah.
as we kind of go back in time, right, it's like old money versus new money. I think there's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous, not wealthy and famous,
Mhm.
or get rich quick, not get wealthy quick. So there's a short termness of richness. Winning the lottery, it feels like flash in the pan to me. And it's very much perception, keeping up with the Joneses lifestyle stuff, where someone can be wealthy and not look wealthy.
Yeah. That,
There's something there.
yeah. No, I think like that feels so true. The word rich almost feels like it has a grit to it, like a dirtiness. Like it's like there's something more negative about it. And I don't think that's fair. I'm not saying that's the way it should be, but like comparing the words, like wealth feels quieter for sure. Feels
Yeah, rich is
quieter.
like a Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah. Wealth does feel, it feels like it's okay to want wealth, where maybe it's not okay to want to be rich.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Something there.
All right, let's keep digging. All right, so 1828. So let's look for the differences. So we have two definitions. The first one is prosperity or external happiness. And the second one is riches, large possessions of money, goods, or land, that abundance of worldly estate which exceeds the estate of the greater part of the community. Affluence, opulence.
Can you say that last part again? I
Yes.
didn't understand it.
Yeah. I had to read this a few times.
What is the sentence?
Each day, new wealth without their care provides.
Can you explain that to me?
I'll explain what I'm seeing in it. You could tell me if you agree. So obviously this is like 1828. The definitions are often very poetic, so they take some reading.
I love it.
But yeah, so each day new wealth occurs without like manual care is what I'm seeing.
Oh, like it grows on its own.
It's passive.
Grows on its own. You don't have to keep adding to it
Yeah.
necessarily.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
okay.
dream we're after, right? Is the passive income, the stocks, the courses, the things that build wealth without us having to put in the hour, like money for the hour.
Right. Just dividends, compounding interest. I'm struck with external happiness. That one. What was it?
Yeah. That abundance of worldly estate, which exceeds the estate of the greater part of the community.
Wow. So like visibly different than the
Yes.
community.
Yes. Visibly different,
Which is
visibly more.
which I would think of nowadays as being rich,
Yeah.
as being more visibly different than the community.
But yeah, I guess it's like I keep thinking 1828. I'm thinking back to Jane Austen times, which is before this, right? But I'm sure influenced this. I'm thinking of the main character in her book, like Mr. Darcy having this big estate, and it's so obviously more than the town nearby where everyone's like staying in inns and servants of the Darcy household. Like it's an obvious difference in wealth.
Right.
And it has to be greater than the greater part of the community.
Really the house on the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, external happiness, I don't even know what that means.
You look like you got it together.
Yes. See, I was reading that wrong. I was reading it as like happiness that comes from the external rather than comes from within. But I think you're actually correct in what they intended was this like appearance of happiness.
The perception of happiness. I feel that there's very interesting research into, people with more stable money tend to have better health outcomes. Duh, right? Like can access resources, can say, get massages and get the stuff that feels like extra and is not accessible to other people. And there's a study where just looking at photographs, people could pretty accurately identify who was wealthy just based on how you look. What do
Interesting.
your teeth look like? What does your skin look like? And so I do think that, especially maybe back then, having access to more help and care, they're probably living longer, had a level of health, right?
Yeah. I think I've heard you say something before about what people wanting, like, what the wealth looks like, or wanting, I forget how you put it. But the wealth is the external stuff. It's like the car that you can drive. It's the
Yes. Oh, this is probably the thing I say a lot, is that there's only 4 things you can do with money. You can make it, you can invest it, you can borrow it, and you can spend it. So I think of these 4 quadrants. But what is the thing we see? We only see what people are buying.
Yeah.
You don't see the other 3, and that's why, like, it's really dangerous to make assumptions about people and things like that, because, like, there could be debt could be a huge factor. There could be inheritance, income that's a factor. We tend not to talk about income, but we see the car, we see the home, we see the vacations or whatever. Social media makes the association of spending with wealth and richness very strong, when it really just tells one part of the story. It just doesn't tell the whole story. So that's probably
Yes,
what I
that's
was.
exactly it. And that struck me at the time, even though I didn't remember it exactly. But I mean, if we go back to our Jane Austen novels, I feel like there's a main character who looks opulent that is dealing with some sort of gambling debt that their like husband has left behind after they died.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can never guess what's going on.
Yeah. All right, let's keep digging backwards. So
Okay.
I think the changes we've noticed are, well, they both have abundance in 1828 in the current definition. They're both pretty material, about the estate, about prosperity. We've got a little more happiness, I think emotion in the 1828 definition than in
Yeah,
the
like you said,
modern.
it's very poetic.
Yeah.
And I think in the modern one, there's more value that's maybe broader, because a lot of things can have value.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So etymology, my favorite part. So wealth. Mid 12th century, wealth is a state or condition of happiness, well-being, or joy,
Hmm.
contrasted with care or woe. Also, valuable material possessions, prosperity and abundance, which is an analogy of health, which makes sense. I mean, wealth and health. By the 1590s, it was known as plenty or abundance of anything. And then, of course, we have the Wealth of Nations in 1666, Adam Smith in 1776, the wealth tax by 1963. So one thing I noticed, though, is the etymology, like the deepest etymology, state or condition of happiness, well-being, joy, has nothing to do with money, as we know of wealth today.
Isn't it interesting?
Yeah. Do you think that adding money to the definition of wealth kind of corrupts the core idea, or do you think they can go hand in hand?
Well, I think it's just really interesting as a phenomenon of, like, okay, there's this more general term of well-being, but economically, those with resources probably have better well-being, in a lot of ways, right? Being able to access food and care and services and having some stability that folks without those resources don't have. So I can also see the thread
Yeah.
of, well, then who has more reliable well-being? It's probably those with resources. So then those two get connected. But yeah, right? Not necessarily so, because you can be wealthy in so many ways. But yeah, it is interesting how it got kind of into that lane of associated with assets for wellness.
Well, I love what you said about wealth. Like, you can be wealthy in much more than money. I think, especially if we go back in the etymology, you can be wealthy in time. And I think we do use it sometimes this way, right? Like, I have a wealth of time. I have a wealth of knowledge. I guess you could say, technically, you could correctly say a wealth of anything. I have a wealth of books.
Especially with it being, happiness, well-being, joy, and, possessions are in there a little bit, even back in the 12th century. Someone on my podcast, a financial activist named Jasmine Rashid, she talks about your net worth is your network, right? It is like the and even those with substantial wealth, often it's not just the money they have, it's the connections that they have, it's the relationships. But I can see that. I think that's true for all of us. We wouldn't give up our connections for anything, right? Like we value those so much and can be so protective and supportive in a very practical way that money can't be.
Yeah. So wealth of connections,
Yeah.
wealth of network, which can definitely lead to wealth of money too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about, because I think in the research, what stood out to me so much is what we're talking about, right? This kind of intersection of money with happiness, well-being, joy. And I think that also says something about the way you were talking about it being lasting, like adding those things or making condition of happiness, well-being, or joy to money. I think that's what softens it in our mind is this like connection of well-being with money rather than just like rich, which is seems
Mm-hmm.
entirely money, even though
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not. You know what I mean? I think that's what kind of makes it softer. But I think because this is going to be coming out around Christmas time, like thinking about Scrooge McDuck and like Ebenezer Scrooge and the variations of that, like the line two where wealth becomes greed or wealth becomes disgusting, right? Do you think there's a line where wealth becomes greed?
Right. Or those who have a responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a real thing that's floating around. Billie Eilish gave an awards acceptance speech that went viral where
I
she
didn't
said,
see it.
there are people in this room who are billionaires and why? Why are you billionaires?
Yeah.
And it really took off because she's like pretty famously given away quite a bit of her wealth and, kind of this talk of like, why are there billionaires? I'd say I don't have like a firm stance on this topic. I don't tend to like do a lot of stuff on the macro side, but it is kind of like, wow, when accumulating that, it's beyond wealth, it's power.
Mm.
And I think we've seen, and maybe it's just popularized, folks with that level of wealth that really has, no contact with most, how regular people live, there's a real alienation there. And especially when I think we're living in really rough economic times. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if in 6 months that we are in the definition of a recession. We're certainly feeling it. I think we're in a psychological recession right now. And with we're recording right after the government reopened, really
Mm.
feeling, I think a lot of folks are feeling very vulnerable economically. And
Mm.
rightfully so. I really think that's there. So, I think there's this like, how can you be wealthy when there's so much suffering?
Yeah.
Is the question.
Yeah.
And, I see these things on my feed. Oh, if Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, like they could single-handedly fix hunger in America with their own wealth. And that's hard to sit with. Do they hear that? I don't know, because I think folks on that other side don't see it that way, right? They
Yeah.
say, oh, I'm an employer or I'm an innovator, or that is not their responsibility, or they are responsible in other ways. Or
Yeah.
I think that one of the things about wealth, because it's about just assets and things of value, it doesn't necessarily mean you have piles of cash.
Right.
Like it is, and I'm not defending like people with ultra high net worth, but like, it's often tied up in real estate and investments. It's not just like money. And so it's not, sometimes they're not very liquid.
Mm.
And that's a whole thing. I have some planner friends who we have a consult group we're all financial therapists. And it's really interesting. These planners are helping like wealthy families figure out their estates. And often it is tied up in stuff that is not cash. It doesn't mean they're sitting around with lots of cash necessarily. They have a lot of value, and that doesn't necessarily mean cash. So,
Yeah.
there's just a lot under the hood.
Money is complicated.
It looks so different for different people.
Have you seen Loot?
No.
Oh, it's a show with, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. Molly's the name of the character. I think you love
Yeah.
Maya Rudolph. The character's name is Molly Novak.
Oh, I saw the first few episodes.
Yeah, I love it. It's so funny. There aren't a lot of shows where I wait for the episode to come out, like on a release schedule. I will binge watch stuff. But Lou, I wait in anticipation for these episodes.
Right. And she's totally out of touch, right?
Yes,
Is
totally out of
another
touch.
thing. Oh, good.
Everyone should go watch it.
Yeah, everyone
But
go watch
yeah,
it.
she's out of touch. And then she has character growth, as is expected, and
Good.
lots of stuff happens. But yeah, she's a billionaire, and it is such a funny show. Yeah, that, and it's hard to find good like half-hour shows these days, I feel like, that are just 30 minutes and then you can go. This one's perfect. Everybody watch it.
You heard it.
Yeah, what were you saying before reminds me too of this idiom that it goes like never die the richest man. Like the idea that you shouldn't die just with the most money possible and give it to everybody. Like you should at a certain point, like just start giving back. Like you make enough until like you are wealthy and then you give back. But I don't know who to attribute that to.
Yeah, there's a book out. It's called Die Broke. And there's some strategy with that, like the planners that I know. It's yeah, often like more advantageous for the whole family or, intergenerationally to be dispersing it throughout, older
Mhm.
age. So yeah, I think it's yeah, then what do you have to show for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's something I'm trying to decide how much I want to divulge to public about my family. But yeah, in like a lot of the elders in my life, right? They have this belief that you should only give after you die. You leave it to people, you leave it to descendants, you leave it to donations, but you don't give while you're alive because then you might need it, right? So this is the belief a lot of them hold, but also like a lot of the people they admire don't actually like the conservatives in my life, right? Like that they admire the Trumps. I don't think they practice that. They don't wait until they die to give to their children.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yet there are people who love them.
On a practical level, we're living longer and our old age is getting more and more expensive. So I've definitely seen examples of older folks over giving,
Mhm.
over supporting in a way that puts them in danger because aging, the dying process is really expensive. And it's so I don't know. There is a balance there for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And we should absolutely take care of our older populations. Ramit, I
Oh,
forget his last.
SETI. Yeah.
He had a YouTube video the other day about the way that the boomer generation got rich. Like those ways aren't necessarily available anymore.
Yeah. It's a huge difference. I feel like it's an undercurrent in so much of my work. Like, I mean, I work with folks of all ages, but probably a majority millennials. And so often this difference of the millennial versus boomer economic experience has just been so incredibly different and can be not only practically different, but can bring up, relationship problems. I've had clients who are sponsored by their parent because like we can't keep talking, like this is kind of ruining our relationship,
Yeah.
because I think that boomers were really quietly supported by
Mhm.
the system and they didn't know because it was so quiet, the fact that their education was subsidized, the fact that they were, working in professional careers during huge booms, economic
Mhm.
stock value and stuff like that. They just happened to them. It was a rising tide. But what's tricky, and there's actually some interesting economic research that shows this, is that a lot of folks who have wealth believe they got it on their own,
Mhm.
not seeing the systemic support that got them there. And when people are in that place, they tend to see people who don't have wealth as an individual responsibility because they feel that they got there out of individual responsibility, which is, it was a silent support. They didn't know that college shouldn't have been $5, right? It just was for them. It was so subsidized. Now with millennials, like, well, we went to college, or I'm just saying, like, that was definitely a pressure put on me and an expectation of, I think, the other students around me. Oh, well, you work hard in college and you get a job and it's all just going to work out because
Mhm.
that is literally what happened to the boomers. So, let's give boomers some slack. They did those steps and it worked out for them, not just because of their own volition, but because the system was happened to be supporting them during that. And, us millennials are finding a very different experience with cost of housing and cost of everything and wages not keeping up.
Mhm.
So, yeah, the way we're going about wealth is probably, yeah, the vehicles are different, right? I mean,
Mhm.
pensions are gone, right?
Yeah.
So they, boomers, by and large, a lot of them have pensions. Those aren't even available anymore. So it's definitely, I think there's more variety. I think it's harder.
But you think it's possible.
Yes.
You've
Yeah,
seen
I
it.
do. I've seen it. I've even lived it a little, Nicole.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, in my story, I've definitely had some lucky breaks and we capitalize on those lucky breaks.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting creating a different relationship with money and wealth than I was raised with.
Mhm.
It does feel complicated. How can I care for myself and my future and feel like I'm also a good person in this world and contributing to causes and supporting people, but not in a way that puts us in jeopardy? It's a
Yeah.
constant balance.
What does having wealth look like to you?
Mhm.
Yeah, let's start there first. What does having wealth
Yeah.
look like to you?
There is this feeling of stability,
Mhm.
right? This thing that like there's this wealth that is growing on its own. Like that definition that I loved that was the 1828 definition. It's not just making money. It's that there's kind of this pot, this box, this vessel of value, because it's not even money anymore. If it's invested, it's invested. It's just a tub of value. And that it's just kind of quietly pulsing and growing and sometimes shrinking, but it's kind of its own engine. And sometimes we contribute to it and sometimes we pull from it. But it's kind of this interesting engine that is going on its own. It's a bizarre experience. It's so different from like cash flow. Like cash flow is a different thing. And cash flow is so important and we need to work on that first. But then the wealth is kind of, it's different. And it is wild when it grows on its own.
Yeah.
It almost feels weird. It's like, wait a second, I didn't earn that. And even from a tax standpoint, it is sort of like unearned income. Like that is like how it's looked at. So, and you also don't pay taxes on it until you sell those investments. So it's just, it's bizarre. I'm still like wrapping my head around like, what does it mean to be an investor? I look at the numbers, it's very wild. And I think why folks with wealth, this perception of, that they, don't really earn it. Well, that's true. Like the value just grows kind of no matter what they do. And I do think there can be a barrier to entry. You do need that seed money or whatever it is to get started. And we were in a position we were able to create that ourselves. Neither my husband received inheritance of any kind. So it just comes down to finding high paying work. It's like the most boring answer because we don't all want to do that work.
Yeah. That's what Ramit says. It's income. Income is the one you're in control of.
It kind of is somewhat, I'm not really in control of it. But, I think also like the millennial dream is we were told, follow your heart. It's like, what if my heart is writing poetry?
As is mine.
Well, that's I meant for you.
Yeah. That's why. And then you go to marketing because it's like, well, got to make money. Yeah. I don't think people. So I think we would say like, I want $1 million, right? Like I want an inheritance, but I don't know if that's really what we want, right? Like we want what it means and what it creates. So if you take money out of the equation, like what does wealth look like to you?
I think it's stability. I think it's the sense that I'm going to be safe.
Yeah.
Maybe safety, actually, more than stability. It is a sense of safety. Can I take some time off work and still be housed and fed? That's one. Another one is just options. Right? If I were to have $1 million, then I could do volunteering or do work that didn't pay as well that I really loved. I think it speaks to options. Do you want $1 million or do you want to spend $1 million? Because those are really different things. Because if you have $1 million, if you're going to keep that $1 million, guess how much you can spend of that while keeping? $40,000 a year. That would be, there's this rule of 25. $1 million generally stays $1 million. Let's imagine it's all invested. You can pull 4% of that a year. So $1 million, really, if you wanted to use that and live on it and not chip away at it, you can use $40,000 a year. So do you want to live on $40,000 a year?
It's enough if you own your home.
Totally.
Yeah.
Depends on the rest of the situation. You're right. Or if you're working as well as having the million. But I think we kind of like $1 million and we get stars in our eyes. And what's really sad is we start to break it apart. It is a lot of money and it also isn't when you're looking at the long term of wealth. So like, I don't know, we're getting in the weeds a little bit, but I think this is so important. Like when we think about retirement planning, this rule of 25 kind of plays out where if you look at what does your life cost in a year, just your normal average year, or what you would like it to cost, right? Maybe you'd like to be able to do a few more things. So get that number in your head for a year and multiply that by 25. That's your goal for retirement of net worth or in your retirement. And then that means you can retire and that amount you can use 4% and that amount won't go down.
Right.
So it's a big number.
Yeah. You're like, holy crap, I'm never going to retire.
But when you start investing and you don't touch it, like it does, because it's not just your dollars you're putting in there. Like you do need to seed it and get it started. But it's this little creature that grows on its own. Yeah. So it's really more about time. It's like the length of time, and yes, there's ups and downs with a market, but overall it tends to go up if you can like wait. I think another thing I think of with those two words is wealth is slow and rich is quick. And this idea of like slow money can you put $1,000 in a CD or an investment and not touch it? Can it be slow?
Yeah.
Like that's where the wealth comes from. Can you hold property and not sell it? It's a slower thing. And we need both. We need fast money and slow money. Your fast money is your groceries and your gas and your day-to-day living. And then you also have slow money, which is like the investments and that wealth building stuff.
Yeah.
And they're connected, but they're kind of different.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, this is excellent. Money is emotional and I'm reacting.
I hope you're in good hands.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
sometimes we need some of this like straight up conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because it's this thing we're not talking about enough. I wish I had known that number years ago. I would have made some different decisions.
Yeah.
Why we're just not sharing a lot of this information with each other.
No, we're definitely not. Like, we do not talk about it. And I am going to be 40 this year. And it's like, I know.
Welcome to
I
the
look
best
forward-
decade.
I'm excited. And also, I wish I could go back 20 years and be like, hey, Nicole, here are some different decisions you should make.
Don't we wish?
I remember thinking one of the decisions I made that I kind of regret is I had student debt and I paid it all off as fast as I could from undergrad, which is not necessarily bad, but I think if I was planning it better, like that was such a low interest rate. It was like 3% or something back. My graduate school loans, which I still have, are like 6%. I wish I had held on to that 3% a little bit longer and done other things with that money I threw at it.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, we just need, I think about that a lot. Like my 25-year-old self, I was in a similar position with a very low cost loan. And like, why wasn't I putting at least something in an IRA? But I was very proud of staying debt free and paying responsibly, paying off that student loan bit by bit. But like, I was just always breaking even, which is what my parents were doing, you know? And like, I wrote about this in a blog a few months ago. I saved up $1,500 and I walked into a bank. I was like, this is what grown-ups do, you know, I'll go in there and I talked to a banker. What should I do with all this money I've got? And he was pretty dismissive. He's like, yeah, just keep it in savings. You don't have enough money to do anything then? And that was the end of the conversation. And I understand now what he was saying is like, yeah, just keep that in savings. You don't have enough to invest. But what a missed opportunity to sit down with me and be like, oh, no, okay, so where are your goals? And like doing a little bit of planning. Obviously, I probably wanted a planner, not a banker, but I didn't know. I felt like a banker was the one. And just like, yeah, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, when we're younger. And I think what's hard, though, is folks like right now in their 20s, you know, maybe aren't not really even earning enough to be able to save. So of course, we can say, oh, you should be putting $50 a month into X, Y, and Z, but like literally they can't afford that. You know, we really did a lot catching up in my 30s, you know, just when we were earning more and things were a little bit steadier. But like, oh, sure, hindsight, but could you have really swung it, you know, to actually accelerate savings or investments? I don't know that.
Yeah. We're having this conversation and it's an hour long. The feeling that keeps hitting me as we're talking is like, there's no way to talk about everyone's situation in this too. Because there have been times in my life as well when I would have heard this conversation that we're having and been like, this doesn't apply to me at all. Because like I am living unpredictable paycheck to unpredictable paycheck.
Completely.
And like investing was the furthest thing from my mind.
Right. And I think when it comes down to it, people really know what they can and can't do. Like, it's not a financial literacy problem. It's often, I mean, maybe that's like a tiny part of it, but like, it is like, who do I talk to? Like you said, like, it would have just been good to just talk to somebody. What do I do with a student loan? You know, I think we just need more people in our life other than our parents to talk about this stuff with. And there's such variety. There's just no formula that works for everybody.
Yeah.
It does.
Like we think about even the pivot from pensions, as we were talking about earlier. Like my parents don't know how to talk to me about saving because, well, my parents don't have pensions, but my grandfather doesn't know how to talk to me about savings because he has a pension.
He didn't have to. My parents as well. Like they were, you know, quote, not good with money. And they kind of didn't have to be because they worked for the government and they had pensions. So I didn't have to think about it.
Huh. Okay.
Deep breath. I know. Wealth.
One quote that we pulled out in our research that is kind of fun is wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants by Epictetus.
Oh, when was that?
Epictetus, ancient Greece.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants.
You wants.
Mhm.
Your needs are taken care of.
Yeah. But
Hmm.
that is the difference too, I think, between having and spending, right? Like it's not necessary to, I think what this is saying, it's not about having like a Lamborghini, but in having like few. And the etymology of want is lack. So that's interesting too, is if wealth is having few lacks, few things you
Mm-hmm.
lack. So you're
Mm-hmm.
not wanting for anything.
Yeah,
Um,
base is covered. I mean, it speaks to this idea of safety.
mhm.
When your safety is covered, whatever that means.
And also there's that happiness in there, that contentment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
having what you have. I always
Mm-hmm.
struggle so much talking about this because I never want to tell anyone. Like I don't want to fall into that, like, don't get the avocado toast. Like if that's what you want, go for it. But I do think there's something to be said too in like that balance of safety and contentment.
And it's kind of the antidote to consumerism. I think being kind of anti-consumerist or really holding back on spending, you can really only do that when you have everything you need
Yeah.
to live. So it is a place of privilege, but it's definitely a road that I've been on. Oh, I don't participate in Black Friday. I really don't buy new things. And, I can only do that because I have my bases covered, but it does really get into values and what do you truly want. And
Mhm.
the sparkle chasing is real and out there. It takes some time and detoxifying to get on the other side of that and realize, oh, that roller coaster is rough.
Yeah.
Being in a state of contentment when your needs are met is a pretty nice place to be.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of times especially with social media and marketing, right? As someone who's in marketing, the feeling of lack, it's not really yours. Like it's been kind of sold to you.
Inventing problems you didn't know you had. Like
Right.
apparently my bones will crumble into powder if I don't buy a weighted vest.
Oh my
Really?
goodness.
Oh, just wait to your 40s, Nicole. That's everything. Weighted
The
vest.
ads are weighted vests.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go on more walks and lift
Yeah.
weights.
More walks, lift weights.
I can carry children, carry
Yeah.
groceries, fine.
Yeah. So I guess the main advice to give as a marketer is be careful, get what you want, but make sure it's your want.
Yeah, make sure it's your want. I
Yeah.
think there's a very sexy thing going on with just consent-based marketing.
Mm.
Here's what I have to sell. Would you like it? Like I try to lean into that. Like I just sent a note with, we're kind of recording this on the week of Black Friday. I'm not participating in Black Friday. Just a reminder. Here's the things I'm doing. I don't like this time urgency just for me. I really don't.
Yeah.
I have nothing against people who do it. But just because I'm talking about like slowing your roll with spending and then building your relationship with money, it's a longer term, quieter thing. And so if it's like, buy now, it just doesn't actually align with my ethos. So I'm kind of I don't know. This is for the first time. I'm like, man, here's what I got. Nothing's on sale. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
I'm still here for you. Because that's the thing, because I'm here for the long run. I'm not here for the flash sale. I'm here for the long run and this long relationship with money.
Yeah.
That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah. And do you mean that not participating in Black Friday as a buyer?
Oh, as a seller, both
Cool.
sides. Both sides, actually. Yeah.
Mm.
Trying to treat it just like a regular old day.
I love that. I've also decided not to have any Black Friday sale this year, mostly just because I'm tired.
Yeah. Also, probably for you and me, our time to shine is January. And so from a very real marketing perspective, I'm putting my effort in January.
Need to take a break.
Yeah.
It's like a whole other conversation. When you run your own business, it's hard to take a break. It's hard to be like, it's
No,
okay.
I know.
Okay, because we want to build wealth. No,
That's right.
that's what we're after. Okay, wrapping up, just a couple questions. If wealth could be used for good or for evil, how do you want it to be used? For good or for evil? And tell me what that means.
Certainly for good.
Mm.
Again, I think sometimes we get pigeonholed and say, oh, it's philanthropy.
Mm.
And that can be good. There's still so much classism in philanthropy.
Mm.
I think there's a problem there. Now, I don't have a solution there. I just question if that's your ticket into heaven.
Have you seen The Good Place?
I haven't really got into it, but yeah, a little bit.
I'm obviously obsessed with Maya Rudolph because she's in both shows I've mentioned today. But yeah, that is part of the plot, right? Is that it's really, really hard to be a good human these days. Like you can give away as much money as you want, but it's like intention behind it, who actually gets
Mhm.
it. Like there's so much out of our control when it comes to philanthropy.
Yeah, and there's some real implicit classism there. So there's that. I don't know. I think there can be some creative and more quiet ways to disperse your wealth in a way that, like, yeah, provides for safety and stability for more people and causes in this earth. Yeah, I think one thing to sort of what I wonder again is perception. Are you doing it out of perception? Are you doing it out of redistributing and support?
Hmm.
This, yeah.
Yeah. And also, what systems do we need to change so we don't have to keep saving people?
Right. Is it my job or do we, pay the taxes for, yeah, that is a whole other thing, especially when a lot of wealth planning is tax strategy and paying less taxes. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, so then you can distribute yourself because you know what people want. Okay, we're getting political, but
Yeah,
there's
we
like
are.
a little bit of that where, you know, or when, there's foundations that have restricted grants where the foundation decides how the money is spent instead of the nonprofit who's receiving it. Like that's interesting.
Yeah. I was having this argument with somebody the other day about organ
Donating. Yeah.
donating organs,
Yeah.
organ donor. And the person I was talking to was like, well, I would only want to be an organ donor if I could choose who got it. Like, I want it to be a child.
Oh
I'm
gosh.
like, I don't think you could do that.
Like, let the docs decide that. Like, let the experts decide.
That's my position.
Okay.
Okay. So, what do we want wealth to mean now? Like, of all the definitions we've looked at, what kind of mishmash of them, or anything we've talked about, like, what feels good to you? What do you want people to have in their minds as the definition of wealth?
Oh, it's such a hard question. I keep coming back to safety.
Mm-hmm.
Like, basic needs met is in there.
Mm-hmm.
Value that grows on its own. There's that component. Like,
Yeah.
there's a value that grows on its own. And that can be value seen in lots of ways. Safety, value that grows on its own. Maybe a little permission slip, like,
Mm.
wealth doesn't have to be like a bad thing, right? I think it's tricky. It's an okay thing to want. I don't have a tidy definition. I'll send it to you if I think of one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's okay to think about. It's okay to think about. It's okay to want stability. It's okay to want safety. It's lovely to want to be generous as well. But really, all roads lead to safety when we talk about money because it is what usually is the key
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of safety.
Yeah. No, I think that resonates with how I want to think about it. I think that definition is the one most likely to help me build wealth. Like, I would love to strike that out.
Yeah.
Like, let's get rid of comparison wealth.
Yes. Because actually, and even in the modern definition, there isn't like a certain dollar amount that it
Mm-mm.
equals. It's so subjective. And
It
that's great.
is. No, yes, you're right. It's rare in these episodes that I like the current definition more than previous ones. But I do like the ambiguity of the modern definition. It's abundant supply. And I like also bringing in like more than money, right? Like wealth of
Mhm.
knowledge, I think is such a great phrase. And
Mhm.
just feeling abundant and happy and full of well-being
Yeah.
in many areas of your life.
I like the word value is in there. Like,
Mhm.
just like so many things can be valuable.
If you could have a wealth of anything besides money, what would be your thing?
Musical instruments.
Ooh.
I'm a real geek about instruments. I just love weird instruments. I love playing around with them. That's my other side love is music.
Yeah.
I would love to just buy weird, fancy instruments and play them. Bring them to jam sessions and have other people play them. And like, I would love to have a theremin. Like, I would just love to have a room filled with weird musical instruments. That's the wealth I'm looking for.
Yes, a weird instrument room dedicated. Rachel, I have to tell you, we've been helping my grandmother downsize, and among her stuff, she has two like 1901 violins
What?
that her father brought over from Germany, like when he moved. And
Do you think they're valuable?
I don't know. My brain is like, yes, these must be worth like $20,000 each. And they're probably not. It's probably like way more sentimental, but
Well, like I know one of those things with violins is they have to be played.
yeah.
So if they haven't been played, they do kind of wear out.
And they're very frayed, like all the strings are broken.
Oh, I'm here in Antique Roadshow.
Oh, go. They'll be like, this is purely sentimental. Get out of here.
This is worth a nickel.
Well, Rachel, this has been lovely. Thank you for being here with me and doing it. Where can people learn more about you?
Money is complex and I love sitting in the muck. Like, I don't have clear answers, but I actually think sitting in the muck helps us the most. And then we find our own way to clarity. But yes, where you can find me, everything is at moneyhealingclub.com, on Instagram at moneyhealingclub. And if you go to my website, there's a pop-up for a free mindful spending email course that I've really poured my heart and everything into. And I love getting your emails with what you have learned from it and what you're noticing about just tracking your spending desires. So I think that's my big passion, is actually learning about ourselves from how we spend.
Yeah. And Rachel is brilliant. We have worked one-on-one. Rachel has helped me through some stuff, and I highly recommend. And we'll put all those links in the show notes.
And if you find my website highly navigable, that is because of Nicole.
Oh, Rachel, thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. That's the Money Healing Club podcast, everyone. And now a little honest money moment, because, hey, that is what I do here. I want you to know that it costs about $400 to produce each episode. And right now that is funded through my other financial therapy work. So my ask is this: if this show has helped you feel even a little less ashamed, less alone, more grounded in your money story, I'd love for you to support it financially. Go on over to moneyhealingclub.com/podcast, and you'll see the button to contribute to the show. Think of it as helping keep this a soft place to land that's open to everyone. We are also always looking for new listener questions and stories to feature on an upcoming episode. So you can go to that same page, moneyhealingclub.com/podcast, go to the big orange button where you can record your story, your question, right from your phone or browser. And if you're craving more support, there's lots of other financial therapy goodness happening at moneyhealingclub.com, from group programs to courses to working one-on-one with me. You don't have to do this alone. Production support for the podcast by Sydney Harbosky at sydneyharbosky.com. We are also a proud member of the Feminist Podcasters Collective, where creators like me are building podcasts to make a better world together. I will see you next time.